Hello. So today I'm going to share with you what I consider the most important learnings that I had over the years that I've been managing Atlassian products, mainly Jira. So if you're implementing a new instance, if you're starting to manage an existing instance, um, I suggest that you go over this video so you don't make the mistakes that I made or that I've seen be made. So let's get it started. So a prerequisite here is that you are an admin. And how do you know if you are an admin? Well, you can go here on the top right, settings, and if you see the settings, well, then you are an admin. So I'm gonna go over things by topic. So let's go into the work item because here are the things that I want to touch base today. So if there's one takeaway from this video, and I'll be already happy if you learn this. Do not change status name unless it is really required and that you have done all your investigation, all the due diligence, because you'll be in trouble if you change a status name and the status is being used by many projects. Why this is a no-no? Because status, the same way as priority, the same way as work item, they are global entities. So imagine that somebody say to you, hey, can you change the status name from open to open? Then you say sure. But the impact here is that, for example, here I have a JQL where I'm saying bring me all the tickets that has a status open, right? If I go here and say sure, I can change the name. That's a very simple thing, right? Done. Changed. Hey sir, your ticket is closed. Now what happened is if I refresh my search, there's no ticket. What's the problem? It's just a JQL. No, JQL, they are used on reports, they are used on boards, they are used everywhere. So now you broke everything. Now everybody's gonna come and complain. They're gonna raise tickets and then raise tickets. But fortunately, this is an easy change, right? All you have to do is come here and change back to open, and now the JQL, it's back. So it's a very impactful change, but it's a very easy to fix as well. Okay, so since we're talking about the status, here's another thing that you need to consider. This is not as impactful as renaming a status, but whenever creating a status, try to give the right status category. Because let's say I'm gonna add a status here, right? I'm gonna say in implementing, right? That's my status. Somebody say, hey, or somebody created this status implemented, they don't know what they're doing, so the category of the status they left us to do, and I'm gonna add. Now everybody started using the implementing status, but somebody comes to you and say, hey, can you, I want to add the implementing status, and then you're gonna say, oh, we already have the implementing status, but they're gonna say, but the implementing status doesn't have the right category. Then they might say, I want a new implementing status with the in progress category, not to do. This change, it's a bit safer to do because I don't think too many people use a status category. There is the status category, so you can use the in progress, right? Then the implementing would show here, but again, you would impact people using it. So depending if your instances are very it's a small instance or you're just starting, it should be okay, but try to create the status with the right category from the get-go so you don't have this kind of headache. Now, talking about workflow, what I suggest is that don't make things complicated if they don't need to be complicated. Don't don't create like restrictions that will block your users unless it is required. Don't overthink about workflows, right? About the screens, I suggest that you create some default screens with a nice description. You can create like some global screens. Let's say a screen that will only have the resolution and the comment. A screen that will only have a specific field. The priority field, for example, set the priority field. So try to name the screen in a way that it's going to be easy to be reused. So the priority used to be a big issue because there isn't a priority scheme before that I can create a scheme for a different project and only include a specific priorities. So this used to be a big problem because people would want their own priorities, um, let's say insignificant priority or not gonna do priority, something like that. With the priority scheme, things got a bit better, but again, I would try to keep as simple as possible so you can use the default priority. You don't have to manage any priority scheme. So I want you to remember one thing. It doesn't matter if it's for status, workflow, if it is for custom field, if it is for priority. It's easy to add, and it's, I don't know, 10 times more difficult to remove because then you have to do some analysis, and depending if it's used by many teams you have to do some communication. So I know that's easy to add stuff because the impact is very low. You're just adding a new field, a new priority, a new status that one team can use, right? What's the problem? The problem is that if you don't add things correctly, or if you add too many things and now they are clashing, then you will see some impact on your global reporting. You're gonna see some impact on when people creating JQL. There's too many fields there. There are fields with the same name. Yeah. So try to push back as much as you can, as much as it makes sense to push back. The work type hierarchy, the same kind of advice. Try to keep it simple. If you are on Jira Premium, you will be able to add hierarchies above the epic. So you could add, for example, initiative, themes, objectives, and so on and so forth. The one place that I think it's okay to expand, it's this layer here, this 0. So it's always like this, like it's 1, 0, and -1. Uh, I don't add too many things like sub story or sub work, right? I think everybody can use subtask if it's a story, if it is I don't know, a spike or something else. So I think here it makes sense to add more work types, but from here and above, I would be very reluctant on adding a more issue types. Sometimes it makes sense to add another one here, to create one for business teams that when Epic doesn't make sense. But I will try to keep things very simple as well. If there's one place that can pile things up real fast, it's under fields. People really like their own fields, and sometimes it makes sense, right? So I'm gonna give you some advices on fields so you can try to keep as under control as possible. First, try to reuse fields as much as you can. I want to use change risk, but I don't like these options. I want to create a change risk for my project. Create a new field for me. No, work with context. then you can go here and say, I'm going to add a new context. Then you can create a new context, context for project X. Then I'm going to select the support. Well, let's say support. One thing that I like to do is say ticket number XYZ 1, 2, 3. Just because you have a point of contact. If one day you want to know if this contact is still needed, you can reach out to the right person. Now you have a new context for this project, and now you can come here, edit options, and add your own options. Now you have two contexts, a global context and a context for a specific project. 2, don't create fields with, or at least global fields, with default value. Default value, to be honest, I don't even know why this exists. It can, like every ticket that creates, that this field here will be populated with a default value. So it's a nightmare for you later on to find out, is this field being used? If you search for tickets that are using this field, you will find a lot, because every ticket has that field with some information. So don't add default value. 3, don't create global fields if they're not global fields. Whenever you're creating a field, once you create this field, I highly recommend that you go under the context, you edit the context, you say this, it's only applied for, you saw that initially it was global context, but we want to apply for a specific project. This is very important. Don't create every field as a global field, because you kind of gonna lose control. Starting using Jira, I understand that everybody wants to have admin access. Everybody wants to be quick, make the changes, right? I want to do things on my own. But I do recommend that you create that point of contact, or at least a group of people that will be the point of contact for making changes, adding global things, because later on it's going to be problematic. Later on, you won't have the quality that you need on the data. So it's very important to have some kind of guardrails from the beginning. Otherwise, Jira is going to be a problem instead of a solution. So if there are too many admins right now, I would recommend to cut the number of admins and try to add some governance to your Jira instance sooner rather than later. So I hope this video helped you to kind of at least don't make the same mistakes that I've made. Don't make the same mistakes that I've seen people make, because I've experienced the pain of having to deal with instances that did not started well. So the goal here is that if you can start well, then you will have a brighter future, and your Jira instance is gonna be bright and shiny. All right, take care, have fun.